And as these shocking details come one by one on the Shraddha Walkar's murder case, the hunt primarily will be for more body parts, specifically the skull or the head.
Butchered into 35 pieces. Her face burnt to conceal identity.
It was just another ordinary day in Delhi, but inside a small rented apartment in Chhatarpur, something horrifying had already happened. Something that no one would know about, not for days, not for weeks, but for months. Because behind those closed doors, the story of Shraddha Walkar, a 27-year-old woman full of life and dreams, ended in the most brutal and unimaginable way. Her voice was silenced, her body destroyed, her existence erased. Let me take you back the last day of her life. May 18, 2022. The day started like any other. Shraddha, who had moved from Maharashtra to Delhi for love, was at home in the flat she shared with her partner. But something went wrong that day. Terribly wrong. There was a fight. Another argument. Maybe over trust, maybe something else. But this time, it ended differently. That day, Shraddha was strangled to death. She struggled, she fought, but eventually the grip around her neck tightened until everything faded to black. For most killers, the panic sets in after the murder, but this wasn't panic. This was cold, calculated. Over the next hours, Shraddha's body was chopped into 35 pieces. The man she lived with used knives and tools to separate every limb, every organ, and then place them inside a newly purchased 300-liter refrigerator. He arranged her body parts in plastic bags, not out of respect, but for convenience. And then he waited. Over the next 18 nights, between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., he stepped out with those bags. One by one, he walked to the Chhatarpur forest, just a few hundred meters away. He wore gloves, chose isolated spots, and threw the pieces of her body into the darkness. Some parts were thrown into a drain. Others were buried under loose soil. Some scattered far from each other so no one could ever piece her back together. What makes it worse? While this was happening, while Shraddha's body lay in pieces, he kept using her phone. He chatted with her friends. He posted on her social media. He even ordered food. He lived in that same flat, slept in the same room, watched Netflix, ate meals, all while Shraddha's body lay in his fridge. Shraddha Walkar wasn't someone who should have been forgotten. She was born in Vasai, Maharashtra, educated, thoughtful, independent. She had moved to Delhi hoping to build a life with someone she trusted. She wanted love, stability, a future. But instead of a home, she found fear, isolation, pain. Her friends said she had changed, that the relationship had turned toxic, that there were bruises and silence. But Shraddha didn't give up until someone gave up her life for her. You think you've heard it all until a story like this forces you to question everything. How does a person live with a corpse in the same house? How does someone walk past a fridge every day knowing what's inside it? This wasn't a crime of passion. This was evil that took its time. But silence doesn't last forever. By the time Shraddha Walkar's body had been scattered across Delhi's forests and drains, her killer had already moved on. He was living his life as if nothing had happened. But one thing he didn't expect was her father's persistence. And that persistence cracked open everything. The missing complaint. Shraddha's family hadn't heard from her in months. She had stopped calling, she wasn't replying to messages, and her social media, though active, didn't feel like her. In October 2022, Shraddha's father, Vikas Walkar, filed a missing persons complaint at the Manikpur police station in Vasai, Maharashtra. He hadn't spoken to his daughter since May 2022, and something felt off. The police began tracing Shraddha's digital footprint. Her last known location? Chhatarpur, South Delhi. That's when the case was transferred to Delhi police. The first breakthrough, when Delhi police located Shraddha's live-in Aftab Poonawalla partner at their Chhatarpur flat, he was calm. Too calm. But inconsistencies in his answers began piling up. His timeline was shaky, his story full of gaps. Under sustained interrogation, he broke. In mid-November 2022, he confessed to everything. The strangulation, the dismemberment, the refrigerator, the 18-day disposal operation. It was a full, detailed confession, cold, mechanical. He showed no remorse. The search for her remains. Immediately, Delhi police launched a massive search operation in and around Mehrauli and Chhatarpur forest. Bones, jaw fragments, hair strands, all scattered and decomposed, were recovered. A partial skull was found in the woods. Later, a jawbone with 2 teeth helped establish identity through DNA testing. Forensic teams used DNA samples from Shraddha's father to match the remains. Inside the apartment, police found blood traces, a blood-stained wooden plank, and knives allegedly used in the dismemberment. Even the refrigerator bore chemical traces of decomposition, digital footprints. Alongside the physical evidence, investigators uncovered digital trails. Shraddha's phone had been inactive since May 18. Chat logs from her WhatsApp and Instagram were used by the accused to pretend she was alive. He had used her phone to reply to friends. He had updated her profiles. He even told people they had broken up and she had moved to Mumbai. It was all a lie. But lies have limits. The strength of this investigation wasn't just in the forensics. It was in the persistence of a father who refused to believe the silence. The killer tried to erase Shraddha, but he didn't count on a family that still remembered her voice, on police officers who didn't give up, on a system that, this time, pushed forward. From a missing complaint in Vasai to bones scattered in Delhi forests, every piece was gathered with one mission: to speak for someone who no longer could. Once the chilling truth came out, once Shraddha Walkar's remains were found, once her name made headlines across the country, the next phase began: the courtroom, the system, the legal process. And it hasn't been simple. The arrest and charges. After his confession in November 2022, Aftab Amin Poonawalla was arrested and charged under multiple sections of the Indian Penal Code. Section 302, murder. Section 201, destruction of evidence. On November 14, 2022, he was officially taken into custody. Police also sought permission to conduct narco-analysis and polygraph tests. The court granted both. These tests were conducted to confirm the truthfulness of his confession and timeline. Delhi Police Charges Sheet. In January 2023, Delhi Police filed a 6,629-page charges sheet against Aftab. It included his confession statement, DNA reports matching Shraddha's remains, CCTV footage of Aftab buying tools and a refrigerator, location history from his phone, statements from Shraddha's friends, family, and neighbors. This charges sheet became the backbone of the prosecution's case. Court hearings timeline. May 9, 2023, the Delhi court ordered that Aftab would be tried under fast-track court proceedings. June 2023, Aftab appeared before the Saket District Court via video conference. He requested the court to speed up the process, but remained silent about the charges. July 2023, the court began reviewing prosecution evidence and allowed additional forensic documentation. August 2023, the court ordered Tihar jail authorities to allow Aftab access to limited legal material, but denied his request to speak freely to the media. September 2023. His defense raised objections regarding the admissibility of certain digital evidence, but the court rejected the plea. The prosecution presented CCTV evidence and online purchase records in court. The defense remained quiet. December 2023. The court extended judicial custody as the case moved into the trial stage. Current status: Aftab remains in Tihar jail under high security. In March 2024, the trial was moved to a higher bench due to growing media attention. As of March 2025, the trial is ongoing. Aftab continues to appear via video link and is represented by a court-appointed defense attorney. The court has scheduled the next major hearing in May 2025 to hear closing arguments from the prosecution. The courtroom isn't just where guilt is proven. It's where a nation watches and waits for closure. This case isn't just about one man's monstrous act. It's about how the system responds to it. Every trial date, every statement, every delay matters. Because justice doesn't come from a headline. It comes from holding evil accountable, one step at a time. When the news broke, it wasn't just another murder case. It was something that made the entire country stop and ask, how could this happen? A father's grief. Vikas Walkar, Shraddha's father, became the face of a grieving nation. The pain in his voice during every press conference was undeniable. He had trusted his daughter's decisions. But he also feared something was wrong long before anyone else did. When he learned the truth, not just that she was dead, but how she died, it shattered him. And just months before the case could see full justice, Vikas Walkar passed away in February 2025 due to cardiac arrest. He left behind a plea that no other daughter should suffer like his did. The public's outcry.
There is a reason why women who are in abusive relationships, when they don't have structural familial
From social media to protests, the reaction was immediate and powerful. People demanded accountability, not just from the killer, but from society itself. And why didn't we hear Shraddha sooner? Why are abusive relationships still invisible until it's too late? Hashtags trended. News anchors debated. Candle marches were held. The outrage wasn't just emotional. It was personal. Because Shraddha could have been anyone's daughter. Sister, friend. This case isn't just about brutality, it's about silence. The silence that allows monsters to hide in plain sight. Shraddha deserved more, and if telling her story can stop even one more tragedy, then we must keep telling it. So if you're watching this, don't just move on, stay aware, share her story, and please subscribe if you believe in what we're doing. Because awareness is power, and silence, it's not an option anymore.